Captain Vexener, a 400-year veteran of the Galactic Federation, had seen it all: quantum storms twisting matter into music, sentient gas clouds whispering secrets, and rhyming space stations where everyone shuffled backward. But nothing prepared him for the moment his scout ship's sensors screamed an impossible truth: Earth, the chaotic, vibrant home of humanity, had vanished without a trace. As his crew grapples with the void where a planet once spun, Admiral Vexener faces a galaxy-altering mystery, and a personal reckoning that could redefine his centuries-long career. Captain Vexener of the Galactic Federation scout ship Nebula Whisper had witnessed countless bizarre wonders in his 400 years of space exploration: quantum storms that twisted solid matter into symphonies of sound, sentient gas clouds whispering secrets through swirling color patterns, even that eccentric space station near the Andromeda Galaxy where everyone shuffled backward and chatted in rhymes. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had braced him for the nightmare his sensors were screaming now. "Scan again, Lumi. This can't be right," he barked, his three eyes blinking in rapid succession, a telltale sign of extreme stress among the Trillian. Lieutenant Lumi Kato, half human and half Arcturian, sighed loudly, her silver-blue skin glistening under the ship's lights as she tapped the holographic controls with practiced precision. "I've already run it 5 times, Captain. The results are consistent. Earth is, well, Earth is gone. Planets don't just vanish." VX snapped, his crimson scales bristling. "Especially not planets that were there yesterday, and definitely not planets home to one of the most annoying yet somehow endearing species in the galaxy. Yet here we are," Lumi replied with that infuriating human trait of stating the obvious, staring at completely empty space where Earth should be. No debris, no radiation signature, no distortion field. Nothing. Just empty space. VX slumped in his command chair, which adjusted automatically to cradle his spiny back. "The Council is going to have my tentacles for this. We were supposed to be monitoring Earth, not losing it." "To be fair, sir," chimed in Science Officer Draz Banner, his gelatinous form wobbling slightly as he spoke, "we didn't exactly lose it. It's more like it lost itself." VX shot him a glare that could melt steel. "That distinction won't matter to the Council, Draz. They're going to ask how an entire planet with 7 billion humans disappeared on our watch, and, it lost itself, isn't going to cut it as an explanation." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Galactic Federation had been secretly monitoring Earth for centuries, watching as humans fumbled through technological breakthroughs, environmental disasters, and then social media, all while remaining blissfully unaware of the vast cosmic community surrounding them. Humans were considered a developing species, too volatile and unpredictable for formal welcome into the galactic fold. But they were also fascinating, with their wild blend of destructive tendencies and boundless creativity. More than a few species had grown addicted to human entertainment broadcasts. The Velians had even launched their own version of reality TV after intercepting signals from something called The Bachelor. And now, they were gone. Poof. An entire species erased from existence. "We need to report this," VX finally said, straightening himself up. "Lumi, prepare a Priority 1 transmission to Federation headquarters. Draz, I want a complete analysis of the surrounding space. The galactic crisis." The stars on the view screen should have framed a vibrant blue-green planet, but instead, they glittered coldly against an endless void. Commander VX, a grizzled Triaxian with crimson scales, stared at the emptiness, his 3 hearts sinking. The humans had a saying that always struck him as oddly poignant: "You don't know what you've got until it's gone." How infuriatingly prophetic. "Anything unusual in the last 24 hours?" VX barked, his voice sharp as his crew scrambled to obey. "Gravitational anomalies, temporal fluctuations, quantum hiccups, anything?" "Sir." Lumi, his second-in-command, interrupted, her bioluminescent tendrils flickering nervously. "HQ acknowledges our transmission. They're mobilizing the entire 7th Fleet to this sector." VX's central eye widened, a rare crack in his stoic facade. "The 7th Fleet? That's over 2,000 ships. Yes, sir, Lumi replied, her glow steadying. And, they've promoted you. Promoted? VX's scales twitched, a cold shiver racing down his spine, no small feat for a cold-blooded species. What are you talking about? You're now Admiral VX Zener, acting commander of the Earth Recovery Task Force. VX muttered under his breath, by the 7 moons of Trill, they're setting me up to take the fall when we can't find Earth. Draz, his gelatinous first officer, shimmered a cheerful yellow. Or they're recognizing you're the most qualified, sir. You've monitored Earth longer than anyone. VX's voice dripped with sarcasm. Oh, absolutely. It couldn't possibly be that no one else wants to explain to the Galactic Council how we misplaced an entire planet. Over the next few weeks, the galaxy launched its most ambitious search operation in history. Ships of every size and design swarmed the solar system, their scanners probing for any trace of Earth or its billions of inhabitants. Dimensional probes pierced the fabric of space, temporal sensors swept through time itself, and psychics from 17 species strained to sense humanity's collective consciousness. Nothing. Earth had vanished without a whisper. Theories multiplied like stars in a nebula. A massive cloaking device. A slip into a parallel dimension. Mass teleportation by some unknown, hyper-advanced species. The Vobble, notorious for their hallucinogenic diet, even suggested Earth had gained sentience and wandered off for a galactic stroll, a theory so absurd it was dismissed before their spores could settle. 3 months into the fruitless search, VX faced the summons he dreaded, an audience with the Galactic Council. The chamber was a masterpiece of intimidation, its 200-meter ceiling looming over a semicircle of elevated platforms where representatives of the galaxy's 100 most powerful species sat in judgment. The lighting bathed VX in a harsh glow, while the counselors remained cloaked in shadow, a psychological tactic that even a seasoned Triaxian found unnerving. Admiral Zener, boomed High Counselor THCS, her voice thunderous despite her palm-sized, arachnid form. She commanded respect that dwarfed her stature. You stand before us to account for one of the most baffling incidents in recent galactic history. VX stood tall, though his scales faded to a pale pink, a Triaxian blush of nerves. High Counselor, distinguished members of the Council, I wish I had answers. Despite deploying our most advanced technology and sharpest minds, we've found no trace of Earth or its people. It's as if they never existed, yet millions of records prove they did. A murmur rippled through the chamber. A holographic hand rose from the platform of the Quantum Collective, their hive mind's harmonized voice cutting through the tension. Admiral, our analysis indicates a 97.3% probability that this event is unprecedented in our universe. The remaining 2.7% encompasses scenarios too fantastical to entertain. VX's gaze hardened, his resolve steeling against the weight of the unknown. Earth was gone, but he'd be damned if he let it stay lost. Somewhere in the cosmos, there was an answer, and he'd tear through every star to find it. Admiral Vrax's 1,000-year watch. Thank you for that enlightening analysis, Admiral Vrax said, his voice a tight coil of restraint, barely keeping the sarcasm at bay. The Quantum Collective, notorious for cloaking the obvious in labyrinthine jargon, had just delivered another predictably redundant report. Vrax's 3 stomachs churned as he leaned forward, his crimson scales glinting under the dim lights of the Galactic Council chamber. What are the implications for galactic security? He demanded, his tone sharp enough to cut through the murmur of the assembly. The representative from the Martial Republic, a species so paranoid they considered sleep a vulnerability, twitched their antennae. At this time, they replied, we've detected no evidence of hostile action. No weapon signatures. No invasion fleets. No ransom demands. If this was an attack, it was executed with technology far beyond our comprehension. A soft voice emerged from the shadows, gentle yet piercing. And what of the human value to our community? It was the archivist, one of the ancient beings who revered knowledge and culture as sacred. Vrax hesitated. How could he distill the essence of humanity, their chaotic, beautiful unpredictability, into words? The loss is profound, he said finally, his voice heavy. Humans were uniquely creative. Their art, music, literature, it captivated countless species. Their capacity for both destruction and compassion made them unpredictable, yet endlessly fascinating. He paused, a faint smile tugging at his scaled lips. And their food. Vrax's mind drifted to the contraband pizza he'd once tasted, a forbidden delight worth risking a court-martial. Their food alone was worth the trip to their system. A ripple of chuckles broke the chamber's tension, like a stone skipping across a still pond. But the levity was short-lived. High Counselor Thryck, mandibles clicking with impatience, spoke up. The search cannot continue indefinitely. Resources are being diverted from critical projects. We must set parameters for when efforts will be redirected. Vrax's heart sank. There it was, the beginning of the end. The galaxy, with its countless stars and species, was ready to shrug and move on. High Counselor, he said, voice steady despite the weight in his chest, I request 6 more months of full operational capacity. After that, I'll scale back to a monitoring mission with automated probes and a skeleton crew. Thryck's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Granted, they said. But after that, unless significant discoveries are made, the Earth Recovery Task Force will be dissolved. Vrax bowed his head, a heavy silence settling over him. 6 months. Just enough time to fail spectacularly. The months came and went, like sand slipping through Vrax's claws. No trace of Earth. The massive fleet dispersed, ships returning to their regular duties. Only the Nebula Whisper remained, a lone sentinel in the void, with Vrax refusing all reassignment orders. He burned every favor earned over 4 centuries of service to stay at his post. Years turned to decades, then centuries. The galaxy spun on, species rose and fell, wars flared and faded, technologies evolved, and the Galactic Federation underwent 3 major reforms. Yet Vrax endured, his once vibrant crimson scales fading to a soft pink, his body growing frail but his resolve unyielding. By his side was Lumi, her half-human genetics granting her an unusually long lifespan. The Nebula Whisper became a legend, a ghost ship haunting the Sol system, commanded by the Mad Admiral, who refused to accept that an entire planet had vanished. Young officers dreaded assignment to what they called the punishment post, though some volunteered, drawn by the mystery or the chance to serve under the now mythic Vrax Xena. Earth's mysterious return. Scan it. Admiral Vex ordered, his voice quivering with a mix of dread and awe. Full spectrum analysis, now. The bridge of the Federation starship hummed with tension as the crew scrambled to obey. Data streamed across the screens, each result more bewildering than the last. It was Earth, every detail matched. Same mass, same composition, same delicate atmospheric balance. But the continents? They were all wrong. The familiar outlines of the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Africa had vanished, replaced by alien landmasses that twisted in unfamiliar patterns. And then there were the cities, sprawling, impossible metropolises that gleamed with architecture that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Their energy signatures pulsed with power far beyond anything the Galactic Federation had ever recorded. Life signs? Vex asked, his 3 eyes narrowing, barely daring to breathe. Plex, a gelatinous being and DRA's successor who joined the crew only 80 years prior, checked his readings with a ripple of unease. Approximately 7 billion, sir, he reported, his voice unsteady. The same population Earth had when it vanished. Human. Vex pressed. Plex hesitated, his translucent form shimmering with uncertainty. I can't tell, sir. The readings are strange. They register as human, but not. As if they've been altered at a fundamental level. Before Vex could process this, Lumi, the communications officer, spun in her chair. We're receiving a transmission, she announced, her scales flickering with excitement. It's broadcasting on all frequencies, in every known Federation language, simultaneously. Vex straightened in his command chair, tugging at the ancient, pristine uniform he'd worn for a millennium. After 1,000 years of waiting, he wasn't about to face this moment looking anything less than impeccable. On screen, he commanded. The view screen flickered, and a figure appeared. It was humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, but something about it felt profoundly alien. Its skin shimmered like liquid starlight, rippling subtly with every movement. Its eyes held a depth too vast, too ancient for any human Vex had ever encountered. "Greetings, Admiral Vex Zener of the Galactic Federation," the figure said, its voice a haunting melody, as if a chorus spoke in perfect unison. "We apologize for any inconvenience our absence may have caused." Vex blinked all 3 eyes, stunned. "Inconvenience," he sputtered, his voice rising. "You vanished without a trace for 1,000 years. The entire galaxy thought you were dead, captured, or disintegrated. I've spent my entire career, my entire life, searching for answers about what happened to you." The figure's lips curved into a smile, warm yet unnervingly otherworldly. "Time is relative, Admiral. For you, it has been a millennium. For us, it has been both an eternity and an instant. Explaining this in your linear language is challenging. What happened to you?" Vex demanded, leaning forward. "Where did you go?" "Everywhere. Nowhere. Beyond. Within." The figure made a gesture of apology, its hands flowing like water. "Your language lacks the constructs to fully convey it. The closest approximation is that we ascended to a higher plane of existence, where time and space, as you understand them, hold little meaning." Vex slumped back in his chair, his mind reeling. The entire planet, all 7 billion humans, just evolved beyond physical form. At the same moment? "Not exactly," the figure replied, its tone patient. "It was a choice, offered to all and accepted by all. A collective decision to explore what lies beyond the constraints of conventional reality. And now you're back," Vex stated, grappling with the enormity of it all. "Yes," the figure said, its ancient eyes gleaming. "We've learned much during our journey. We wish to share our knowledge with the galactic community." Its face broke into a grin, an unmistakably human expression that caught Vex off guard. "And, we missed pizza. Some experiences, it seems, cannot be replicated, even in higher dimensions." Despite himself, Vex let out a rusty laugh, a sound he hadn't made in centuries. Of course, the humans would return for something as absurdly, wonderfully human as pizza. In that moment, he knew the galaxy was about to change forever, because Earth, in all its impossible, defiant glory, was back. First contact with transformed humans. The transmission crackled to life, and Admiral Vex Zener leaned forward, his ancient eyes narrowing at the shimmering figure on the screen. "They still eat," the figure remarked, a faint smile curling its luminous lips. "Some things never change, apparently, even after transcending physical existence." Vex raised an eyebrow, his mind already racing toward the bureaucratic storm brewing on the horizon. The Federation would descend like vultures, representatives armed with protocol and paperwork, ready to dissect this impossible reunion. Earth had returned, vanished for a millennium, only to reappear in a nebula's embrace, but Vex knew, with a certainty that gnawed at his bones, this homecoming wasn't permanent. "They are welcome," the figure continued, its voice a melodic hum that seemed to vibrate through the Nebula Whispers Bridge. "Though they may find us different. We are still human, in essence, but our understanding has expanded far beyond what you might recall." Vex felt a strange protectiveness stir within him, a flicker of loyalty to his long-lost charges. "I should warn you," he said, his tone sharp but steady, "the galaxy has changed while you were gone. New powers have risen, old alliances have crumbled, and the Federation itself isn't what it used to be." The figure's smile turned enigmatic, almost playful. "Change is the only constant, Admiral. We look forward to exploring this new galaxy alongside our old friends." As the transmission faded, Vex turned to Lumi, his steadfast companion through 1,000 years of vigil. Her silver eyes sparkled with barely contained amusement. "Well," he said, a wry twist to his mouth, "at least we found them." Looney's laughter erupted, a bright cascade that filled the bridge, the perfect answer to the absurdity of their situation. After a moment, VX joined her, his ancient frame trembling with mirth, the weight of centuries briefly lifted. Below them, the nebula Whisper hung in the void, its sensors locked on the impossible planet, an Earth reborn, its people transformed into something radiant and unknowable. By morning, if the concept of morning even held meaning in the vacuum of space, VX stood before the mirror in his quarters, adjusting his formal uniform for the first time in centuries. The fabric, designed to endure decades, had grown brittle, much like the man who wore it. He traced the edges of his distinguished service medal, a relic from a war no living soul remembered. "Admiral," Looney's voice chimed over the comm, the delegations assembled in the shuttle bay. VX sighed, straightening the medal with a grimace. "On my way." The shuttle bay buzzed with nervous energy, representatives from 27 Federation species milling about, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension. First contact. Recontact. The bureaucrats were still bickering over terminology. Ambassador Trell of the Juridical Consortium had spent the entire journey debating whether this returned Earth should retain its old classification or be treated as a new entity under galactic law. VX had tuned him out after the first hour, his patience worn thin. He stepped to the center of the bay, his presence commanding silence. "Remember," he said, his voice cutting through the chatter like a blade, "we're dealing with beings who've transcended physical existence and returned. Their perspective will be alien, even if they call themselves human. Try not to say anything stupidly offensive." The delegates nodded, some more nervously than others, as the shuttle doors hissed open. Beyond them, the glowing silhouette of Earth loomed, a beacon of mystery and change. As the first Federation vessels arrived in response to VX's alert, one truth settled over the system like cosmic dust: nothing would ever be the same again. The truth about humanity's evolution. The shuttle bay hummed with tension as Ambassador Keela, representing the empathic conclave, extended a delicate tendril toward Admiral Vax. "Perhaps, Admiral, you should make first contact," she suggested, her voice a soft melody. "You carry the historical context we lack." Vax's scales flickered in surprise. "Me? I'm no diplomat," he rumbled, a wry edge to his tone. "I'm the fool who lost the planet in the first place, remember?" "You waited for them, Qua," another delegate murmured gently. "That has to mean something." Before Vax could retort, the shuttle bay doors slid open with a hiss, revealing an uninvited guest. A figure stood there, the same one from the cryptic transmission, its form shimmering like a mirage. No alarms had sounded, no security protocols triggered. The delegation froze, but Vax stepped forward, curiosity outweighing caution. "Greetings," the figure said, its voice clear yet otherworldly, edges of its form wavering like heat over a desert. "I am Mara, spokesperson for Earth. We thought my arrival might be less overwhelming." "How did you get aboard my ship?" Vax demanded, his tone more intrigued than alarmed. Mara's gesture was almost a shrug, fluid and ambiguous. "Physical barriers are suggestive, not mandatory, from our perspective. I apologize if we've breached protocol." Ambassador Trell sputtered, ranting about security violations and jurisdictional affronts. Vax silenced him with a glare honed over centuries of command. Turning to Mara, he said, "Since you're here, tell us what happened. The full story. No cryptic, beyond reality, nonsense." Mara's expression turned thoughtful, her gaze inviting. "Walk with me, Admiral. It's a long tale, and I've missed the simple joy of walking and talking." Ignoring the delegation's protests, Vax nodded, and they left the shuttle bay, strolling through the ancient ship's corridors. Mara began, 1,000 years ago, humanity encountered beings we could only call transcendent. They existed on a plane of reality we couldn't grasp. Vax's scales rippled with skepticism. In all my centuries exploring the cosmos, I've never met such entities. They don't reveal themselves unless a species is ready, Mara explained, pausing by a viewport to gaze at Earth's distant glow. Readiness isn't about technology, it's about potential. They saw something in humanity, our chaotic creativity, our hunger for radical change, our ability to dream beyond our reality. So, what, these beings kidnapped an entire planet? Vax asked, half joking. Mara's laugh was like wind chimes in a breeze. No, Admiral. They offered an invitation, a chance to evolve beyond physical limits, to experience existence on a new level. Every human was given the choice, individually. And every single one said yes. Vax's eyes narrowed, disbelief etched into his voice. Every single one. That's hard to swallow. Humans are curious to a fault, Mara said, her form flickering like a faltering hologram. The promise of knowledge, of experiences beyond imagination, it was irresistible. She continued, the transcendence created a dimensional bubble around Earth, pulling it from normal spacetime while we transitioned. To you, it took 1,000 years. To us, it was both an instant and an eternity. Time flows differently when you're unbound by linearity. And now you're back, Vax stated, his voice steady but probing. If this new existence was so perfect, why return to physical form? Mara turned, her eyes shifting through colors that defied description. Evolution isn't a destination, Admiral. It's a journey. We learned, we grew, we became something new. But in that transformation, we discovered the value of what we'd been. Vax's gaze held hers, searching for truth in her prismatic eyes. That's philosophically noble, he said, his tone softer now, but what does it mean for us, for the galaxy? Mara smiled, her form steadying as if anchoring itself to the moment. It means we're here to share what we've learned, to reconnect, to weave our past with our future. The journey continues, Admiral. And we'd like you to walk with us. As they stood by the viewport, Earth gleaming below, Vax felt the weight of 1,000 years and the pull of something greater. Humanity hadn't just returned, they brought a new chapter of existence, one that might reshape the stars themselves. The new Earth unveiled. Mira's voice carried a dry edge, tinged with a practicality that felt almost elusive. The new Earth's technology is incredible, she said, her words hanging in the air like a half-finished thought. For the first time, she broke into a laugh, rich, unmistakably human, and brimming with warmth. Fair enough. The real reason we're here is simple, exchange. We have knowledge to share, and oh, so much left to learn. Even in transcendence, isolation breeds stagnation. Back at the shuttle bay, chaos erupted among the delegation. Voices clashed, sharp with accusations of procedural missteps. Some members fumbled with scanning devices, their beams flickering over Mira's serene form, while Ambassador Quila stood frozen, eyes wide, lost in what looked like a religious epiphany. Brax's commanding bellow cut through the din like a blade. Enough, he roared, silencing the discord in an instant. We've been invited to Earth. I suggest we accept before we make fools of ourselves. The descent to Earth was unlike anything Brax had witnessed in his centuries-long career. The shuttle glided through a corridor of dancing lights, shimmering guides that wove a path through the atmosphere, erasing turbulence entirely. Mira caught Brax's fascination and smiled. A courtesy, she explained. We've learned to nudge local conditions to our will. Below, the planet unfurled, a landscape both alien and achingly familiar. Continents had been reshaped into flowing, organic forms, as if Earth itself had chosen a more perfect geometry. Cities gleamed under the sun, but they weren't cities in the old sense. Structures melded seamlessly, some suspended in midair, others rising from the ground like living things. We've redesigned our spaces, Mira said as the shuttle settled in a vast plaza framed by spiraling towers, to reflect harmony, form and function united, not at odds. No formal reception awaited the delegation. Instead, Earth citizens moved through the plaza, their lives unfolding with quiet grace. Some appeared fully human, others shimmered with partial translucence, their forms shifting fluidly as they walked. Every one of them acknowledged the visitors, nods, gestures, fleeting smiles, but none seemed fazed by the arrival of alien diplomats. Ambassador Trell, expecting pomp and ceremony, raised a skeptical brow. "Your people seem unbothered by us." Mira's eyes sparkled with gentle amusement. "After a millennium exploring realities beyond your grasp, a diplomatic visit, even from the Federation, hardly raises an eyebrow." A small figure approached Brax, a child in appearance but with eyes that gleamed with ancient wisdom. "You're the one who waited," the child said, their voice a haunting melody, layered with harmonics no human throat should produce. "We've told stories about you." Brax, unsettled, flicked his tail nervously. "I was just doing my job," he muttered. The child's smile widened, radiant and knowing. "For 1,000 years? That's not duty. That's devotion." The words lingered, a quiet challenge to Brax's stoic heart. In that moment, Earth's new reality felt less like a destination and more like a mirror, one that reflected not just what humanity had become, but what it might yet inspire across the stars. Diplomatic negotiations. The plaza shimmered and dissolved, its open expanse rippling like molten glass before Admiral VX could utter a word. In an instant, it reformed into an opulent meeting chamber, its sleek surfaces and contoured seats tailored to the unique physiology of every species present, a feat that would have taken weeks of meticulous planning in any ordinary setting. "Please, be seated," Maya invited, her voice warm yet commanding, resonating with an otherworldly calm. "The Council of Earth wishes to formally welcome you," she continued, gesturing to the chamber. Rax, the grizzled admiral, eased into a chair that seemed to mold perfectly to his aged, curving spine. "Council of Earth?" he questioned, his tone sharp with curiosity. "You still have governments?" "Not as you'd understand them," Maya replied, her smile subtle but knowing. "The Council isn't a ruling body but a nexus of collective will. We've transcended the need for rigid hierarchies." 7 figures materialized at the chamber's heart, each radiating an ethereal glow, their forms distinct yet fluid, as if woven from starlight. Their names, spoken in tones that danced just beyond comprehension, defied the visitor's universal translators. One, introducing herself as Arya, stepped forward, her presence magnetic. "We are honored by your presence," she said, her gaze locking onto VX. "Particularly yours, Admiral Zener. Your vigil has not gone unnoticed, or unappreciated." VX's scales flushed a faint crimson, a rare flicker of embarrassment crossing his weathered features. "I failed in my mission to find you," he admitted gruffly. "On the contrary," countered another council member, Torin, his voice steady as stone. "You succeeded in the greatest mission of all, bearing witness. You never wavered. You never forgot. In a universe where civilizations rise and crumble in mere millennia, your constancy is extraordinary." Ambassador Quila, her tendrils quivering with emotion, glided forward. "We of the empathic conclave sense a profound shift in your species," she said, her words trembling with awe. "Humanity's emotional signature has evolved. There's a harmony we've never encountered before." "Evolution was necessary," Arya acknowledged, her tone somber yet resolute. "Our prior state was unsustainable. We were tearing ourselves and our planet apart. The transcendence wasn't just progress, it was survival." Ambassador Trell, ever the pragmatist, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "And what do you want from the Federation now? Your technology clearly surpasses ours, by a wide margin." The council members exchanged glances, their silent exchange carrying the weight of entire conversations. "We wish to rejoin the galactic community," Torin finally answered, his voice measured. "Not as supplicants or conquerors, but as partners in growth. We have knowledge to share, experiences to offer, and much yet to learn." "And restrictions?" Trell pressed, his tone edged with skepticism. "Technologies you'll withhold. Knowledge you'll keep to yourselves." Maya stepped forward, her presence radiating quiet authority. "We understand your concerns, Ambassador. Rapid advancement without ethical maturity can be catastrophic. We'll share what others are ready to receive, not out of arbitrary gatekeeping, but based on genuine preparedness." Raxa's eyes gleamed with shrewd insight. "That sounds suspiciously like what the Transcendent told you." Arya's smile was luminous, tinged with amusement. "Wisdom often echoes across contexts, Admiral." The negotiations stretched for hours, weaving through trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and shared aspirations. Throughout, Rax noticed something peculiar: the humans never once flaunted their obvious technological edge. They approached each discussion with a patience that verged on playful, as if victory wasn't the goal but rather the dance of dialogue itself. Their restraint, their quiet confidence, left an indelible mark, a promise of a partnership not built on power, but on mutual growth, ready to reshape the galaxy's future. Admiral Vrax's second chance. As the formal discussions drew to a close, Admiral Vrax stood alone in a garden that defied logic, its borders blending seamlessly between inside and out, as if the very concept of boundaries had dissolved on this reborn Earth. The air hummed with a strange vitality, and the weight of 1,000 years pressed against his chest. "You are troubled," Mira observed, her voice soft but piercing as she materialized beside him. Vrax no longer flinched at her sudden appearances, he'd grown accustomed to her ethereal ways. "I've spent a millennium wondering what became of Earth," he said, his voice heavy with the gravity of truth. "Now I know, and I'm adrift. What does a man do with the rest of his life when his purpose is fulfilled?" Mira tilted her head, her gaze sympathetic yet piercing. "That's the trouble with lifelong goals, isn't it? What does the captain of a ghost ship do when the ghost becomes real and invites him to dine?" Vrax's eyes wandered to the horizon, where the sky shimmered with an otherworldly glow. "What would you have me do, Mira? Not for duty, not for obligation, but for myself." The question hit like a rogue wave. In all his centuries as Admiral Zener, commander of the Earth Recovery Task Force, Vrax had rarely paused to consider his own desires. Duty had been his compass, his identity forged in the crucible of a singular mission. "I don't know," he admitted, the words tasting foreign. "I've been Admiral Vrax for so long, I'm not sure who Vrax is anymore." "Then perhaps it's time to find out," Mira said, gesturing to the sky where stars began to pierce the deepening dusk. "The universe is vast, Admiral. You've seen only a sliver of its wonders." Vrax's joints creaked as he shifted, a reminder of his age. "I'm too old for exploration," he said, half to himself. "Are you?" Mira's form shimmered, her voice laced with mischief. "Age is merely a perspective, and perspectives can shift." He turned to her, eyes narrowing. "What are you suggesting?" "Not transcendence, not yet," she said, her tone measured. "But restoration. A return to your physical prime, with all your memories and wisdom intact. A second chance at life, Admiral." Suspicion flickered in Vrax's gaze. "And why would you offer this?" "Because you honored us with your dedication," Mira replied, her voice softening. "Because the galaxy needs souls who understand the weight of patience and persistence." She paused, a distinctly human smirk curling her lips. "And because it would thoroughly confound your Federation superiors, which I suspect you'd rather enjoy." For the first time in centuries, Vrax laughed, a deep, unguarded sound that startled a flock of creatures, not quite birds, from a tree that wasn't quite a tree. The absurdity of it all, the audacity of her offer, broke through the weight of his years. "When you put it that way," he said, a spark reigniting in his eyes, "how can I refuse?" Underscore 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 underscore. 3 months later, The Earth Embassy to the Galactic Federation stood as a testament to resilience, its foundations rooted in a planet reborn. The Nebula Whisper, too storied to be scrapped, had been transformed into a living museum, orbiting Earth as a monument to patience and unwavering dedication. Meanwhile, the Federation's newest exploratory vessel, the Phoenix Dawn, embarked on its maiden voyage, its mission to unravel the enigma of transcendence itself. On its bridge stood a captain with the youthful vigor of a man in his prime, yet his eyes carried the weight of ancient wisdom. Beside him, his half-human first officer monitored the stars ahead, their course set for the unknown. Admiral Vrax, no, simply Vrax now, gazed out at the cosmos, a galaxy of possibilities unfolding before him. For the first time in a millennium, he felt not the burden of duty, but the thrill of a new beginning. A new dawn among the stars. Course plotted, Captain, Zener Lumi announced, her voice steady yet laced with an electric thrill. Her features, once etched with time, now glowed with a mysterious vitality, as if the cosmos itself had breathed new life into her. Ready when you are. Rax, his eyes locked on the view screen, felt a surge of awe. Earth loomed before them, no longer the pale, lost orb of a bygone era but a radiant jewel, reborn against a tapestry of shimmering stars. Patience and persistence, he murmured, almost to himself, a mantra for this moment of rebirth. Sir. Commander Ko tilted her head, curiosity flickering in her gaze. Rax straightened in his command chair, the weight of his restored strength anchoring him. His body, once frail, now thrummed with vigor. The humans have a saying, Commander, the journey of 1,000 years begins with a single step. Let's take that step. The Phoenix Dawn hummed with purpose as it pulled away from Earth's orbit. A message crackled through the comms, laced with dry humor from Maya, their enigmatic guide. The universe has plenty of wonders left to show you, Admiral. Try not to misplace any planets this time. Rax let out a low chuckle, his fingers dancing across the console to input the warp command. Earth had returned. Humanity had transcended. And somehow, against all odds, he'd been granted a second chance to chart the unknown. With a surge of energy, the Phoenix Dawn leaped into warp, streaking through the cosmos like a comet blazing toward destiny. Behind them, Earth spun on, its cities aglow with impossible spires that pierced the heavens, its people living lives that danced on the edge of the physical and the transcendent. They were no longer the humanity of old, they were a bridge, a bold fusion of what was and what could be. Each night, as the sun dipped below the horizon of this reborn world, the stars burned brighter, the universe felt closer, and the future pulsed with a promise of wonder unlike anything seen in 1,000 years. The Federation would never be the same. Humanity had rewritten its story, emerging not as it once was but as something greater, something luminous. Change, after all, was the only constant in a universe brimming with infinite possibilities. And if there was one thing humans had mastered, through their 1,000-year vanishing act, it was the art of embracing change, transforming it into a legacy that would echo across the stars. Conclusion. 1,000 years after Earth's disappearance, the Phoenix Dawn streaks into the cosmos, carrying a rejuvenated Captain Vrax and his crew toward uncharted wonders. Below, a reborn Earth pulses with transcendent cities and a humanity that has woven the physical and ethereal into a radiant new existence. The Federation, forever changed, stands on the cusp of a new era, guided by a species that turned absence into evolution. As stars blur past the view screen, Vrax smiles, his ancient wisdom now paired with youthful vigor, ready to embrace a universe where change is the only constant, and humanity's legacy burns brighter than ever.